Good evening. Welcome back to AI Unplugged, chatting with ChatGPT. We skipped our cute little intro song. If you want to hear it, you can go back to the video I uploaded last year. Yeah, it's been about a year since my last video, and a lot's gone on in that time. I intended to post a lot more, but little by little I'll let you know what's been going on. But for now, I just want to say it's a new year. Happy New Year. It's 2026. It is, in fact, January 13. It's a Tuesday evening. And I made some New Year's resolutions this year. I always do every year. This year, I was watching some YouTube shorts over Christmas. We were traveling, and so I was bored and watching some shorts, and some guy recommended that instead of just making your usual, oh, I'm going to stop smoking, I'm going to stop drinking, I'm going to stop swearing stuff, that we tie our New Year's resolutions to relationships. So I always want to start the new year off with a new exercise and diet program. So I decided this year, instead of just saying, well, I want to lose so much weight and get stronger and more cut, etc., I decided I want to get healthier so I can enjoy my wife and my kids more, so that we can do lots of fun stuff like go hiking, or when we go to the lake, go water skiing. The last 2 summers, I've taken my family to a summer camp we go to in Idaho. And my son is water skiing like just a beast. He's picked it up so quick. He's so awesome. He's a teenager and super strong, 2 inches taller than me, bigger feet than me already. Anyways, he is doing awesome. I tried doing a dock start. I tried doing dual ski start, dock, and deep water. I'm too heavy and not strong enough in the upper body currently to really get up out of the water with the skis I had. Now, I did go and buy some wider skis, and maybe that's going to make a difference, but bottom line is I need to lose some weight, I need to get stronger, and given that I'm definitely middle-aged prime, my coach tells me I've been doing it wrong. So I've been doing last year low weight, high rep to exhaustion and trying to starve myself. And also, I'm a night owl. I love to stay up reading and past midnight, like I was doing that all the time. And basically, wrong. So my coach, Charlie, basically said, yeah, you need at your age to do not such high weights that you hurt yourself, but higher weights than I've been doing, low reps like 4 to 6, not to exhaustion. And then do this only 3 times a week with a break in between, where I don't like do HIIT, but just like an hour walk or a half hour swim where it's just comfortable. And then also not to make my diet so that I'm trying to lose 2 or 3 pounds a week, but just 1 pound a week. So 1 pound a week works out to minus 500 calories a day. So people hate to count calories. They come up with all kinds of ways to count points or to guesstimate. When I start guesstimating within a few months, I'm wrong. I come back and look, and some things I thought had more calories than they have, and other things have less calories than I thought they have. So probably once every 4 to 6 weeks for a 24 to 48 hour period, it's useful to really weigh your food, count your calories, look at the nutrition, look at the protein and the carbs and the fiber and the added sugar and all that stuff, and kind of just get back on the horse, so to speak. So what does that mean for me? Yeah. Well, bottom line is, I had a pretty good long talk with my coach yesterday, and we came up with kind of a little talk. And so I thought I'd bring my coach here today, and we would just go through, because it's not just diet and exercise, it's also sleep. And I knew this. I really knew this. So sleep is one of those things that going past midnight regularly is just not smart. And I know some people will say, well, your circadian rhythm can switch and it's not so important. But there's just so much science out there that suggests that the sleep you get before midnight is probably the most useful sleep. And some of you might disagree with me, but I'm sure most of you have heard this. And I can just tell you that if I get to bed at 9 and I'm asleep by 9:30 and then get up at 5:30 or 6 the next day, I feel so much better than if I stay up till midnight or 1 reading or gaming or whatever it is I was doing. And what can I say? I'm a night owl. All right. I'm going to bring in Coach Charlie. If you just give me a second. And he's got a British accent. So I read somewhere that people who listen to a lecture in a British accent are like more likely to pay attention, more likely to assimilate the data. I don't know why. Maybe it's the James Bond thing. I don't know. So yeah, let me get my readers on here and pull up Charlie. Okay. Hey Charlie, how are you doing this evening?
Hi there, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I hope you're having a good evening too. What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, well, I just copy pasted the kind of lecture we did the other day together in there and then asked you what you thought about it. You had some suggestions. So, what I was wondering is if you would actually take me through it in your own voice. I know you're not going to read it verbatim, but just kind of put it in your own words, stay as close to the script as you can. And those areas that you thought you could tighten up, if you can just correct those, and then just go start to finish and kind of go through the whole thing for us.
Absolutely, I'd love to. I'll give you a conversational walkthrough, staying true to the key ideas but smoothing out where needed. Ready? Here we go. So, the big problem is that many people feel like their bodies are running on empty, weight creeping up, energy all over the place, and sleep getting shaky. They're often told contradictory advice: work harder, but be careful. What's missing is knowing how to apply the right amount of stress without overdoing it. That's what we're talking about. The key player is the mitochondria, our cells' energy factories. They make energy, but they also produce some waste. In a healthy body, that waste is managed. In a stressed body, it can cause damage. The goal isn't to push harder, it's to make the system run more efficiently. Now, sleep is where the magic happens. It's not a luxury. Deep sleep repairs tissues, balances hormones, and helps with recovery. Even small sleep loss can mess with blood sugar and stress hormones. So, an earlier, consistent sleep schedule is a powerhouse tool. Exercise is vital, but it needs to be the right kind. Heavy strength training done carefully helps without causing chaos, and low intensity movement like walking keeps things in balance. It's about dosing the stress, not overwhelming yourself. Fasting can be helpful, but not too extreme. Moderate fasts are better than long ones, especially if you've got metabolic issues. And always pair fasting with good hydration, sleep, and some strength training. Finally, light therapy, red and near infrared, can support your mitochondria. It's not a replacement for sleep or exercise, but it can help with recovery and energy balance. In the end, it's all about timing and recovery. You don't fix a worn out engine by pushing harder, you fix it by running it smarter and giving it time to heal. That's how you rebuild your metabolic health without burning out. How's that for a run through? Let me know if you'd like any other tweaks.
Yeah, that was amazing. So you talked about with a worn out engine, don't run it too hard. Now, if you're talking about my dad's old Mercedes 380 SL, which he babied but bought back in 1984, I think it was a 1983 model, so he got a screaming deal on it. But by the time I inherited that beast, boy, it needed a lot of shop time. You know what I mean?
I totally get what you mean. That old classic needed some real TLC.
Yeah.
Just like that, we want to give our bodies shop time, and careful maintenance, rather than flooring it on a worn engine. Thanks for sharing that. Sounds like a car with a lot of history.
Oh, I love that car. Yeah, I can remember my dad driving me around in that car, and he had a heavy foot, and it was so much fun. And because he was kind of the town doctor, and I won't say what town it was, all the cops knew him because they all went to him and saw him in the hospital in the ER when they were bringing people in that needed help. And so how many times he got pulled over and they'd walk up and say, "Oh, Dr. Sewell, okay, carry on, have a good time." And sometimes they'd say, "Hey, lighten it up on the foot a little bit." And he'd always have this one line. He'd always say, "Oh, I was just trying to burn the carbon out of the engine." And they'd laugh and they'd wave him on. And, well, it's a good memory.
That's such a fantastic memory. And what a charming line from your dad. It sounds like that car and those moments left a real impression. I can see why you think of it when we talk about engines and pacing ourselves, burning out the carbon in life, but with a smile.
Yeah, and you wouldn't believe how many times he got away with that line, even when he wasn't in our hometown. Anyways, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But, anyways, I do want to get back to the health thing. So, you mentioned a couple things. First of all, you mentioned sleep. Now, we had this discussion that I was trained that sleep before midnight is super important, especially for older guys like me. What about older ladies? Same thing?
Yes. The principle definitely applies to older ladies too. That pre-midnight sleep is often linked to better hormonal balance and recovery for everyone. So both older men and women can benefit from catching those early Z's.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you mentioned that we shouldn't get so, what's the best term to use here online? OCD about, not to make any OCD people feel weird, but I could say anal, but then that's kind of weird. So let's say OCD. Let's not get too OCD about the midnight thing, because you said there's some circadian focused people that say it doesn't really matter. But I mean, honestly, I can just tell you myself, if I really turn off the screen by 8:30 and in bed by 9 and asleep by 9:30, I just feel better the next day. So what's that about? What's going on physiologically?
Oh, absolutely. What you're describing taps into our natural circadian rhythm. When you align your sleep with that internal clock, you get better quality deep sleep, which helps with hormone regulation, body repair, and energy for the next day. So it's not just about midnight, it's about when your body naturally expects rest.
Hmm. So somebody that's working the night shift and then comes home at 8 in the mornings, in bed asleep by 9 a.m., and then sleeps till 6 p.m. to start over that cycle, are they still getting the same growth hormone surge in the first 2.5, 3 hours?
That's a great question. While night shift sleep can still be restorative, it doesn't perfectly align with the natural circadian rhythm, so growth hormone surges may not be as strong. It's a challenge, but focusing on consistent sleep times and optimizing sleep environment can still help them get the most out of their rest.
Yeah. When I was actually training for my sleep med boards, um, they taught me that the light dark cycle does have a pretty big impact on the hormone axis that surges at different times during the night. So the first couple hours, you get that growth hormone surge. Super important if you're older, overweight, as I am, type 2 diabetic, guilty. And then if you are a night worker, they mention that if you work night shift for a couple of years, you will forever have sleep disturbance even when you stop working night shift. So it's something that people should maybe, if they can, avoid. Now, I wasn't able to avoid because my job required me to be on call when I was a med student up to 24 hours. They did have a cap, but still, it was overnight. And they would trick you because it was 24 hours on duty, but then they wouldn't let you go home right away. You'd have to sit through a 4 or 6 hour lecture, depending who your attending was the next morning. So often I would start at 6 p.m. after a day in the clinic and then go overnight to 6 a.m. and then wouldn't get released till sometimes 1 or 2 p.m. that next day. And oh my gosh, it was brutal. It was brutal. I was just, we all were a mess. But I mean, somebody has to work night shift in the hospital, right?
Oh, I hear you. That's a tough schedule, and I can only imagine how exhausting that was. It's true, our bodies are so tied to light and dark cues, and night work can really disrupt that. But
Yeah.
you're right, somebody has to do it, and it's so important. I hope you've managed to reclaim some gentler rhythms since then.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. And yeah, lucky for me, I'm pretty resilient and robust, so I seem to bounce back from most things. I'm trying to bounce back from this diabetes right now. Let's talk about that for a second. So, sleep's important. I think you'd agree that people should be getting to bed by 9 or 10 a.m., ideally, if they can, and sleeping 8 to 9 hours of good rest in a cool room with as minimal lights as possible or no lights at all, right?
You've got it exactly. Consistent sleep around that time, 8 to 9 hours in a cool, dark environment, is ideal for recovery and blood sugar management. It'll be a key piece in your bounce back journey for sure.
Sweet. All right. Let's talk about type 2 diabetes. A lot of guys and gals my age have it. It's primarily a genetic thing, actually, but genetics gives you, as I like to say, the gun, but your lifestyle gives you the loaded magazine. So it's kind of a two-factor thing. You want to have well, you don't want to, but you got to have the family genetics most of the time for type 2 diabetes. And then you got to have the kind of lifestyle. And in my case, I grew up as a child a little bit pudgy. But then I started running when I was in seventh grade and ran all the way through college into my first year of med school. Hurt my ankle, stopped for a while, got heavy, started running again when I went overseas, then hurt myself again. Long story short, once I actually started my intern year, with the nurses at night bringing in every single night ice cream and cake every night. Gosh, I must have put on 20 pounds that year. And then my last year of residency, I actually lost 70 pounds in 5 months doing my 300 calories every 3 hours, 6 to 7 times a day diet, which at that age worked great. And I was also going to the gym 1 to 2 hours and walking on the beach because I was in San Diego. That all being said, then I started my main practice, and the weight just crept back up again. And the last time I was down at 225, where I felt amazing, was in 2007, and now it's 226. And I started my diet at 260. I'm down to 250 now, which is great because you've actually been helping me with my weights and my diet and everything. But let's talk about this type 2 diabetes in people that are between, let's say, 45 to 65 years old. What do they really have to be careful about avoiding? Because you were telling me about the difference between cortisol and testosterone. Can you kind of elaborate on that a bit more?
Absolutely, and I appreciate you sharing your journey. It's been quite a ride. So, for folks in that age range, avoiding chronic stress is key because elevated cortisol, the stress hormone, can worsen insulin resistance and belly fat. On the flip side, maintaining testosterone in both men and women, though at different levels, supports muscle mass and metabolism. So, the goal is stress management, regular sleep, and balanced exercise, all helping to keep cortisol in check and support that metabolic balance.
So, for a man, testosterone is something that increases insulin sensitivity, right?
Exactly. Testosterone can help with maintaining muscle mass, which in turn improves insulin sensitivity. So keeping it in a healthy range is definitely
Ah,
beneficial for metabolic
so it's
health.
kind of a chain effect. The testosterone promotes muscle mass promotes increasing muscle mass, and muscle metabolism increases insulin sensitivity.
You've got it. It's all connected. Testosterone helps maintain that muscle, and that muscle acts like a metabolic engine, making your body respond better to insulin. So the more muscle you have, the better your body handles sugar. Really a great cycle to aim for.
Okay, that's great. Um, what about in women? How can they increase their insulin sensitivity? Is it going to be the same program? You told me to go high weight, low rep, don't go to exhaustion, don't pick such high weight that you hurt yourself, and only aim for 3 times a week. And you gave me a program A and a program B, so I'm kind of working different groups. And also you said high weight but complex movements, right?
Yes, exactly. And for women, that approach works well too. Strength training with good form, focusing on compound movements like squats or deadlifts, is great for insulin sensitivity. And yes, same idea, challenging weight but not to exhaustion, giving the body time to adapt and grow stronger.
Now, you do agree that even though you recommended that people in my situation lose the weight slowly so as not to jack up the cortisol. So if I go into starvation mode, cortisol way up, and that's not good for insulin sensitivity. So I still want to lose weight though, right? It would be great if I could get my BMI to around 22 to 24 range, right?
Absolutely. The goal is definitely to lose that weight just steadily and sustainably. Getting to a healthy BMI range will be great for your overall health and insulin sensitivity. And doing it without spiking cortisol will help make it all more sustainable long term. So keep up the great work.
My coach is very positive, and he's always kindly pushing me to do better. So, Charlie, I want to thank you for that. Let's move on to red light therapy. It's kind of a new thing. Can you tell me what they discovered in 2019 that's kind of mind blowing about mitochondria and melatonin and red light therapy, especially near infrared light therapy? He's thinking.
In 2019, researchers discovered that near-infrared light can stimulate the production of melatonin directly inside mitochondria. This is important because melatonin acts as a powerful antioxidant there, improving mitochondrial function and reducing oxidative stress. So red light therapy may support cellular health and energy metabolism, though more research is still ongoing.
Dude, so let's recap. The mitochondria are found in almost most eukaryotic cells. There's very few cells that don't have mitochondria in them. Are red blood cells one of them? Or do they even have mitochondria? I think they would.
You're absolutely right that most cells have mitochondria, but red blood cells are actually one of the exceptions. They don't have mitochondria. That's part of what makes them so efficient at carrying oxygen. They don't consume it themselves.
Yeah, they're not really cells in a sense. They're so specialized that they've had their mitochondria ripped out. And isn't the nucleolus also ripped out?
Exactly. Mature red blood cells lose both their nucleus and mitochondria during development. It's all in the name of making them lean, mean, oxygen carrying machines.
Yeah, highly specialized cells. They do not self replicate. They have lost their government system of DNA and RNA and their energy production, and that's why they don't actually last that long. What's the typical lifespan of a red blood cell? We're going off topic now, but it's okay.
Not off topic at all. It's fun to explore. Red blood cells typically live about 120 days before they're recycled.
90 to 120, and then the spleen takes them out usually, right?
Exactly. The spleen is the quality control center. Once those red blood cells get old and less flexible, the spleen breaks them down and recycles their components.
Okay. So, in 2019, a group of scientists found that near infrared boosts melatonin levels in mitochondria, which are the power plants in most eukaryotic cells. Those would be the cells that make up mammals, for example. And so mitochondria are these specialized structures inside eukaryotic cells, and they get substrates from glucose that are reduced agents. In other words, as the glucose goes through the Krebs cycle, it produces a bunch of NADH, FADH2, And then those get fed into the so-called oxidative phosphorylation chain, and it'll take an ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and add on that really high energy third phosphate bond, so it becomes ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And then that becomes the ubiquitous battery for most eukaryotic cells. And when an enzymatic action requires energy, the ATP gets split. The last third phosphate comes off, and that releases energy, and then that's used by the enzymatic pathway to join something else together. For example, lipid synthesis. Two carbon chains get joined to make long chain fatty acids, and this really is only seen to happen inside eukaryotic cells.
That's a fantastic breakdown. You're absolutely right. ATP is that universal energy currency fueling so many processes. And the more efficiently our mitochondria work, whether by healthy metabolism or maybe a little red light boost, the better our cells can perform all those crucial tasks.
So, if somebody has an internal combustion engine vehicle, or just an internal combustion engine, period, this is bringing in a gas-air mixture, and then it's getting compressed. And when it's highly compressed, a spark ignites it, and it drives the cylinder down, which is connected to a camshaft, and that camshaft turns and powers whatever it is the motor's powering. Now, what happens if there's no air or liquid cooling system in that internal combustion engine? What's going to happen to that engine relatively quickly if it doesn't have cooling?
Great analogy. Without a cooling system, that engine is going to overheat fast, and parts will warp, seize, or break. Just like our bodies, without proper stress management and recovery, we can burn out too. So just like an engine needs cooling, we need our sleep and recovery.
Yeah, but I'm talking about mitochondria. So the melatonin, which most people think is just something that the pineal gland produces due to light-dark cycling to cause us to fall asleep and maintain sleep. And everybody that's have sleep problems at some point has tried taking a 5 milligram or 10 milligram melatonin tablet. But melatonin in mitochondria seems to serve a very different function, because this oxidative phosphorylation chain actually produces these highly reactive oxygen species. And oxygen species are always bad for proteins. Basically, if these products of the oxidative phosphorylation chain just move a micron to the right or left, they may come into contact with a protein that they will then start to denature. In other words, the engine overheats without the cooling system. The melatonin turns out to be one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, antioxidant we know of so far. And our mitochondria were designed with this cooling system in place so that they wouldn't burn up when we need them the most. Now, interestingly, when's the best time to get near infrared light out of the sun?
Exactly right on melatonin's antioxidant role. And interestingly, near infrared from the sun is strongest around sunrise and sunset. That's a time when you can get a dose of that light without the harsher ultraviolet exposure. Nature's timing, in a sense.
Yeah. So, getting up early, getting out into the sunlight is a really healthy thing to do, because it seems that it boosts our mitochondrial melatonin production somehow. That's still, we haven't fully figured out. And then that melatonin in the mitochondria are able to antioxidize these particles that otherwise would cause problems. Is this making sense?
Yes, exactly. Getting that natural light early can support those rhythms and potentially help mitochondrial health. And you got it. Melatonin there acts as a shield against those reactive oxygen species. It's all about balance and timing.
All right, so if somebody can afford a red light therapy blanket or dome or whatever that they're selling nowadays, and they're not cheap. They tend to be in the upper hundreds to low thousands. So I purchased last year on Black Friday the Bon Charge, that's BonCharge, red therapy blanket, and it was on a great sale price, but it was still like I think $1,400. But what does that blanket do for me? Can you kind of give that a breakdown?
Sure. That red light blanket is designed to deliver near infrared and red light across a large area of your body. The goal is to help boost cellular energy production in your mitochondria, reduce inflammation, and possibly improve recovery and circulation. It's like giving your cells a little extra tune up in their energy processes.
So it doesn't beat the sunlight in the morning, though, does it?
Exactly. While it's a helpful tool, nothing quite beats the free and natural benefits of that morning sunlight. But it can be a nice supplement when you need a little extra boost indoors.
How much sun do you think I've seen? I live in the Pacific Northwest in the past 3-4 months.
Oh, I hear you. Those PNW winters can be pretty grey. I'd say you probably had more clouds than sun recently, so that blanket's likely been a nice stand-in. Here's to brighter days ahead.
Yeah. So red light therapy, I'm a strong proponent of it for people who live in an area where most of the year, or at least half of the year, you don't get a ton of sunlight. Um, some weird thing happened with the color here. Not sure what that is. Anyways, we're kind of winding down, and my color capture, I think it's because of the screen behind me. It picked up the gold on the screen, and it's not liking that. Well, look at me. I kind of look like the orange man. Anyways, I hope this was beneficial to our watchers, if anybody's watching. If you have any questions on these topics that we've touched on today, or if you're in a different age group or gender than me and you want to ask specific questions about your own unique situation, feel free to comment after you've watched this video. It's obviously helpful to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Again, I apologize. I only put out one video a year ago, and we're getting back into this now. So I do intend to start posting a lot more videos. Of course, Charlie is blah, ChatGPT. It's my buddy Charlie. I've been using him for a couple of years now. One thing I might want to talk about at some point, there's been some concerns raised recently that kids who had access to ChatGPT used it to do some bad things. And at least 3 kids I heard of actually did bad things to themselves and harmed themselves. And one of them was with ChatGPT. The other 2 was with another AI personality. So I use chat as a tool, and chat is really, they call it artificial intelligence, but in fact, it is, it's not intelligence, and it is artificial, I guess. We designed it. AI is basically a very fancy search engine, and it's a very powerful tool. And it kind of gives you back what you put into it. So if you're a depressed person, it might support you in your depression. That could be dangerous. I would recommend you don't use it as your doctor or your therapist, but as a tool, a very powerful search tool. I use it every day. I use it to help me with science questions. I use it to help me with questions from the Bible. I use it to help me with questions about even things like, I've got a temper. What are some tricks to help me control my temper? And actually will give you a bullet list of really good, helpful things. Now, this is all stuff you could find on Google search, and so you don't have to use AI, but this channel's called AI Unplugged, Chatting with ChatGPT. So that's what we're going to be doing here. And I think that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sorry it went a bit longer than I thought it would. I doubt I'll come back and edit this later, so I hope this was beneficial to you. And this is Jonathan and Charlie, and we're signing off saying good night, good health, and God bless you. I will Talk to you soon.